Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I guess you can say that this is yet another silver lining to 2020 that you can watch this presentation at your leisure. So welcome to Syracuse University alumni and friends on this belated Orange Central Brunch and Learn to what I hope will be an informative and enjoyable presentation on how you can recreate museum quality displays of artwork in your home. And as an added bonus, I will be giving you some insider museum preservation tips for the best locations for artwork to be displayed in your home, and some other tricks of the trade of how to extend the life of your artwork, which is a key component of our mission here at the museum, preservation of the work we hold and care for in the collections and in public trust. Since this is an Orange Central event geared to bring you back to campus and learn about the resources and activities we have here, I love to take a little bit of time in the beginning of each of my presentations to introduce the museum to you and myself. Many of you who have not physically probably been to campus in a number of years, or if you have been on campus recently, you may not have heard of our recent name change and rebranding. As the Campus Art Museum of Syracuse University, we strive to be a place of rigorous interdisciplinary research, creative thinking, and mindfulness, as well as an inclusive space that serves as a forum for a broad range of discussions that bring people together. On a typical year, we present up to 20 exhibitions. Yes, you heard me right, 20 exhibitions here on main campus, as you can see from the two images here from our current fall installation of a display titled Being Human, an exhibition that explores portraiture from the permanent collection. We host scores of public programs which run the gamut from artist talks, exhibition and collection tours, and wellness events. Last year, we hosted a Bar 3 exercise class in the museum and also partnered with Hendricks Chapel on a food drive to help their food pantry. This year has been a little bit different, with much of these events and exhibitions have turned virtual, all of which can be found on our website, museum.syr.edu. You can see a screenshot of our virtual exhibition offerings in the center of this screen, so I hope you go and check those out later after this. Some of you also may be familiar with our New York City venue, the Louise and Bernard Palitz Gallery at Lubin House. If you have attended an alumni event at the Lubin House, it is quite likely that you have seen our gallery on the second floor, which presents on a normal year an additional 6 exhibitions a year from our collection, like the one you can see on the left titled Diverse Views, which features recent acquisitions. We also showcase work from other collections on campus, such as Lightwork, Community Folk Art Gallery, or Point of Contact Gallery, as well as use this space for a forum for student scholarship, like the image on the right of a show curated by PhD student Evan Starling Davis on the work of contemporary Afro-Surrealist artist Ivan Ford. If you missed a recent conversation between Ivan and Evan that we hosted a week ago, please visit our YouTube channel and listen. It was a wonderful opportunity to be in the same virtual space as them. A quick peek into the history of the museum at your alma mater. While our official department has only been in existence since 1974, the collection itself dates back to the very formation of the university just over 150 years ago in 1873, with a series of plaster casts purchased for the Studio Arts program, and is the cumulative result of over 130 years of active acquisitions of world art. In 1949, George Ahrens, a university trustee and a name probably well known by many of you for his philanthropy to the university in many areas, donated a group of 19th century European and American paintings collected by his mother, Annie Walters Ahrens. This gift laid the foundation for the modern collection and invigorated the university to build on its holdings. Chief among these activities was a mural program where visiting artists executed large-scale paintings for various university buildings, and an outdoor sculpture program which located monumental pieces on several campus sites. The university embarked on its first intensive period of collecting it with the appointment of Lawrence Schmeckebeer as Dean of the School of Art in 1954. Working closely with Chancellor William P. Tolley, Schmeckebeer brought an impressive number of objects to Syracuse throughout the 1960s. In 1974, the art collection was officially formulated as a unit on campus to organize, care, and exhibit the art acquired over these past 100 years. In 2005, the art collection merged with the Joe and Emily Lowe Art Gallery to form the larger 15,000 square foot facility we currently possess in Schaefer Art Building, that was then termed the SU Art Galleries. This past February, the Board of Trustees officially approved the change of our name from Galleries to Museum to better reflect our core mission for preservation, education, and scholarship. Now, to give you a little bit of background about me before we get started. My name is Emily Dittman, and I'm the Associate Director of the Art Museum. I'm also an alumni of SU. I graduated in 2006 with a Master's of Art from the Museum Studies graduate program in VPA, and also with a Master's of Information Library Science from the iSchool. My undergraduate degree was in history, but not from SU, a much smaller school down the road in Pennsylvania, Allegheny College. Here at the museum, I wear many hats ranging from direct collections care, research and cataloging, exhibition development, donor relations, and most applicable to this presentation, overseeing the installation of artwork in our campus loan program. Oh, and I also teach a graduate level program course in collections management, and here I am with my class this semester at the new National Veterans Resource Center Gallery. If you remember from being on campus, we are lucky to have a portion of our collection installed on campus grounds and in campus buildings like this view of Heinz Hall and classrooms. Many of these works complete our mission here at the museum to educate the entire campus community and to present selections from our vast permanent collection of over 45,000 objects to students, staff, faculty, and visitors to campus. It truly is what makes us a museum without walls. So by now you may be thinking, what does the campus loan program have to do with making my home a museum? Well, campus offices are quite like homes. They are spaces that, even though there's art installed, we as museum professionals cannot control the risk as much as we can within our own museum walls. There are furniture, desks, kitchenettes, groups of people who go by, and areas of concern that we have to work around, very much so like your house. Now, what is the big difference between a museum or gallery space in your home? Let's take a look at our museum here in this images. What immediately looks the same, and what may be different from your own home? Do you have the wide spaces, high ceilings, and specialty lights that we are lucky enough to have in our museum space? Maybe some of you do, but most likely the majority of us do not. Or maybe there's some pockets of your house where there's similar space, but that might just be room for 1 or 2 images to place on display. You also have other considerations in a home that you may not have in a museum. A museum gallery may have furniture such as a bench to take a stop and look at a piece of a painting, but most likely that bench is set in the middle of the room with room to walk around it, and it's not placed directly up against the wall like a sofa may be. In addition to functional requirements that make a house a home like furniture and appliances, you also have a lot more and a variety of activity such as people, pets, your cooking. You've got people going in and out. We've got a lot more people working from home these days. These are things that make part of living in a house what it is and what is a home, but it's not a museum necessarily. You also probably do not have a frame shop equipped with a professional mat cutter, various supplies for hinges or mounting, or something that we here at the museum are lucky to have, a team of professionally trained staff and students, both undergraduate and graduate, who work with us that are skilled in creating custom frames, matting, and creating display mounts. But that doesn't mean you can't take tips from us to transform your house into a museum. And much of this is simply in preparing and thinking about the best places to showcase and extend the life of your art. So what can you do to translate museum quality care of artwork and installation to a home? There are a couple of things we can advise about, from preserving the artwork by selecting the best place in your home for certain pieces, to framing it yourself and hanging it on the wall. So let's talk about how you receive the artwork itself. Maybe the work came to you framed. That's great. Whether you purchase it from the artists themselves, from a commercial gallery, a craft fair, or a retail store, such as Marshall's or Target, there are lots of options to bring artwork, whether original art or reproduction, into your home and surround yourself with aesthetic creations that bring you joy. Let me just premise this by telling you a little bit about the work in my own house. It ranges from framed postcards, family photos, my children's artwork, newspaper cover page, and reproductions from Target to original works of art. So if the work has come already framed and prepared for you, this first step to install has been taken care of for you. Easy, right? However, many times work comes to us unframed. You've got 2 choices here. You can either take them to a professional framer, or you can try to do it yourself. If it's the painting on the right what you're dealing with, I would certainly go the professional route. I personally would. I'm not at all talented enough to frame this one. I'll admit that right there. If it's a complicated work that needs a custom frame, a special mount to protect the edges, as you can see it's got some issues there, investing in a professional is probably the best route. But if it's a work on paper, such as a drawing or a photo or a stretched canvas, you should be able to get what you need from a local art store or craft store, or even Michael's or Amazon. Here are some tips as we start to really think about the best process to preserve and showcase your art. Step number 1, matting it. This is what we like to call a sandwich. It helps to stabilize the artwork. Many times you'll see a piece of artwork with a window mat. This is both an aesthetic component, but also a preservation method, as it helps to give a little bit of space in between your artwork and the glazing, which could either be a piece of glass or plexiglass. You never want the artwork to touch the glazing, as over time this could cause the work to adhere to the surface of the glazing and cause damage or loss of surface material. Sometimes you'll also see a photo or other work on paper directly mounted to mat board. This is a permanent way of adhering the work to the mat board and something that we at museums try to stay away from, as it is very hard, if not impossible, to reverse. Now, if you have many options for pre-cut mat boards at local art supply stores or even Amazon that have a window to showcase and protect your artwork while on display at your home. The pack here shown in the middle even has a variety of colors if you prefer to add color to your final framing presentation. Typically at the museum, we tend not to use colored mat board. With a black and white photograph, we tend to lean towards a white board. For cream-colored works or paintings, perhaps a warmer tone cream or even tan to match the sheet color. However, this really is up to you. If you complement your piece with a light pink or a blue or a green, it really is what you aesthetically want to showcase your artwork in and what really makes you happy. So my best piece of advice is to take your artwork and place it next to each of the different colors. And once you find something that complements it and you're happy with it, you select it. But when selecting a mat, if there is an option for acid-free mat board, please select that, as it will extend the life of your art by absorbing the acid from the work on paper or piece of work, and it will not add acid to it as many acidic mats would do, which over time will leave an acid burn, which would eventually ruin the image. Step number 2, placing the artwork in the mat board. Pro tip here is to invest in both photo corners to mount your artwork in the mat or artist tape to hinge the work in place. Please do not use Scotch tape or masking tape. If you must use tape, invest in the artist tape or linen tape. This will not cause damage to your work over time the same way that Scotch tape will. If you've ever seen residue from Scotch tape, you can tell it by the very dark brown or yellowing strip that it leaves behind, which is very hard to remove as well. If your image has no border, hinging your artwork is one way to secure your work to the mat board that you've selected in a way that can be removed in the future without much risk of damage to the artwork itself. In order to do a hinge, you need a mat board cut to a proper size, or one of your pre-selected, pre-cut one that has a window cut out for you already, foam board cut to the same size as the mat board for backing board, and the artwork itself. First thing you're going to do is lay your painting face up with the top of the painting towards you and the bottom of the painting away from you. Then cut pieces of acid-free artist tape and attach them to the back of the painting at the top with the sticky side up, as you can see. Then cut 2 more pieces of tape and create a hinge in that middle top picture. The next step is to attach the mat board to the foam board. The easiest way to do that is to take 2 pieces of artist tape and stick them to the edge of the mat board at the top, with half of the pieces hanging off the edge. Then lay the edge of the piece of the foam board against the mat board as shown and use the pieces of the tape to secure them together. Finally, bring the mat board, the window that you cut, and the foam board together using the pieces of tape as hinges, and you've got it all properly matted. If your work does have a little bit of a border where you can use photo corners, that will work really well in addition to secure your artwork to the mat. You're going to start by positioning your artwork evenly on the center of your mat board. Have on hand a weight. We like to use dried beans in pouches, but a can of cat food works too if you're at home and in a pinch. Just make sure to place a piece of paper underneath it as to not cause scratches or abrasions to the artwork. Once you have the work even, bring over your photo corners and slide them in each corner, holding down your weight as to not let the work shift while applying. Ta-da! You're all set. Our next step, glazing. This is a protective shield to protect your work against environmental issues such as light, dust, pests, anything that could get in its way. Many times people utilize glass, which is fine. We like to use UV filtered plexiglass though if possible. This will help protect your artwork from light damage. When you enter a museum, lights are always dimmed, right? This is strategic on our part to keep the light from damaging the artwork. We also turn off the lights in spaces when they're not open to the public or being utilized. I often say I work in a cave because it's so dark most of the time. And you know that 2 to 3 months typical of a museum exhibition run? That's done for many reasons, but the first of which is preservation of the objects from being on display for too long. A home is different though. Lights will be on much more frequently, and they most likely will not be dimmed to the 5 to 10 foot candles that we can do with our lights that are specific for museums here. So this UV filter built into the plexiglass is really going to help extend the life of your objects. Okay, now to think with a critical eye about where the art will go in your house. Many times we think about spaces with a decorator's eye for a home. You might scroll through Pinterest or design magazines and blogs. This is a favorite pastime of mine as well. However, at a museum, we think of the aesthetics, but we also think about the preservation of the object at hand. For instance, many times artwork is installed in a home in a bathroom. This is the first advice we can give you. Save those spaces for high-quality reproductions or artwork that will not be affected by humidity or water. So, a work on paper such as a drawing, print, or photograph are not best in a bathroom setting because of the constant change in humidity and temperature, steam, let alone water, that will negatively affect the works. There are many reproductions of artwork that are aesthetically pleasing but will be easily replaced or not damaged, so please do not follow this image that I found in a design magazine of artwork surrounding the shower and the sink. There are much better options besides lining it with original works of art that you can choose. My second piece of advice about where to place works of art. Do you have a sunroom or skylights that you love and that brighten up your house? This is a great area for plants, and let's face it, your own mental health to get sunshine, especially in the winter months, especially if you're in Syracuse. But it is not the best option for artwork that might be susceptible to light damage, especially works that have color dye in them, like photographs, textiles. So maybe this is a great spot for a bronze sculpture, or a painting that you can place in an area on the wall that does not get direct sunshine. Think annually as well. Natural sunlight damages work, and the direction of the light changes with the time of the year. So a wall that might not have sunlight hit it during the fall could have light hit it in the spring. So keep watching it all throughout the year. The image on the left is not a great spot for artwork, as you can see by the light hitting the works on the art. However, look at the right. Yes, there's a window and a skylight, but the artwork is obscured by those in a sheltered little nook, bringing the artwork into the room safely. The third place that isn't the best for artwork? Kitchens. Think about it. There's grease, smoke, splatter, even gets to the best cooks. And let me ask you, after listening to me go on and on about protecting artwork today, would you put an unglazed original painting, or 3 unglazed paintings, right above your stove like on the left? The image on the right is a much better solution. The artwork is there in the kitchen, but at a safe distance from water, stove, cooking, and activity. Now, living rooms, bedrooms, dens, offices, these are all really great places for art as well. Keep in mind where the sunshine is streaking through, and heating and air conditioning vents could be in a location that you might be thinking of. But really think critically about where you place that artwork if you've got some heating and venting or piping. You don't want heat blasting on your artwork because that could cause damage, especially if it's a painting. So installing an artwork over heating or air conditioning vent really isn't the best spot. Think of somewhere else you could put it. Same with a wall that has direct sunshine hitting on it that could cause damage. We've already talked about this, but I like to reiterate it because light damage really can damage artwork over time. One last thing to think about when selecting the spot in your house: piping or sprinklers. Do you have any sprinkler heads or exposed piping like the image on the right? Really great for a loft house, really great windows, not great for the art. So if possible, avoid placing that original art directly under those to best mitigate the risk. Now on to the final step. You're probably waiting for this one. Actually getting the work on the wall. For a single object, it really is fairly simple. For starters, there's one essential guideline that you should definitely keep in mind. Always display the artwork center line, 57 or 58 inches from the floor. This is a standard height when the majority of people don't have to strain themselves to view the artwork. It makes it eye level and ensures that the art can be comfortably admired. Plus, if you have that consistent line, consistent measurement, all of your work in your house will be even. Now this is the center line, but not where you want to hang from. The first step on the left is to measure 57 inches from the floor and mark it on the wall. Next, you're going to find the focal point of the artwork by measuring its height and dividing it by 2, as seen in the second picture. Measure the top of the artwork to the tightened hanging wire or hook that it will hang from. And then you're going to subtract this number from your focal point number. Take the new number and measure that distance above the 57-inch mark. This is where the hanger should be placed, so mark this spot. I give you my email address at the end of this presentation if that went a little quick for you, so don't be shy in writing to me if you want a little more step-by-step instructions. Now it does get a little more complicated when you want to install a gallery wall or salon-style hanging. I love these personally to mix up and showcase various mediums and works of art in my own house. Stick to that 57-inch focal rule for these too, but it's a little more lenient in that you can build around the focal point, or in what I prefer to do, a focal image. I pick one piece that I want to be my centerpiece image, and that's what I hang in the middle of the install, and at that 57 center line. I then start working outwards, and I start placing artwork around it. I like to lay my works out on the floor to carefully build my install plan before I put it up on the wall and put some hangers in the wall. Like in the picture here. Taking a picture of it after you accumulate the objects is really helpful because obviously you're not going to be able to stand on the objects to install and put a hammer on the wall. And then just install and have fun. I truly hope that this was an enjoyable and helpful brunch and learn. We at the museum are so happy to share with you a little bit of our insights of how we think about both preserving and caring for works in our collection and installing them in ways that can translate to how you think about caring and installing for art in your home. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or comments. My email is on the next slide. And more importantly, please continue to engage with the arts at SU by visiting our website to connect virtually with exhibitions, art activities, and more. We have hosted a slew of virtual programs so far this year, which are luckily now on our YouTube channel for you to enjoy. Be on the lookout for new virtual programs and exhibitions coming soon. And also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SU Art Museum for many, many updates. Again, thank you so much, and it was my absolute pleasure. I hope to see you all on campus very, very soon as we can safely be here. And feel free to stop by for a chat or email me, and I'd love to talk to you. Have a great one.